Hello, and thanks for joining us. I am Eddie Scarry with The Federalist, and today I'm going to be talking with Mr. Bill O'Reilly, multi-best-selling author of the Killing series. How many of those have you sold, Bill?
12 killing books, 19 million of my books, and that counts non-killing books in circulation right now, Ed.
Amazing. Okay, and also a host of the No Spin podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
John, I'm okay. I'm busy just like you.
All right, well, thanks for coming on. We're going to get to your book in just a minute. We got the brand new Killing the Legends, The Lethal Danger of Celebrity. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, are you as appalled as I am at the state of the country right now?
Yeah, because 2 years ago, the American economy was the strongest on the planet. Just 2 years ago. And everybody was making money, and there were plenty of jobs, and prices were under control, 1.3% inflation. And in 2 years, the Biden administration has absolutely destroyed the entire economy. It's shocking.
And so how much of actually the mess that we're in, we got the gas prices, we got the crime, we're teetering on the edge of nuclear war now, thought impossible literally just months ago. So how much of that do you actually put on the Biden administration?
Well, there are unintended consequences for every president. And when the president does something, they're supposed to think out what could happen if I do this. All right? Biden is not capable of doing that. He's not mentally acute enough to do it. So, for example, he comes in the first day and he slaps on all these regulations on the fossil fuel industry in the USA, which makes it harder for them to harvest oil and process oil. So what happens? There's less product. So we're energy independent 2 years ago, exporting energy because we had more than enough for the American public, okay? And now we have to import. And Biden said, oh, no, it's not my fault. Yeah, it is. It's your fault. Because once the harvesting and processing of the oil went down, all the prices went up for gas, and that extended into all the shipping, all the trucking. Everything went up, and that's why the food prices went up, and that's why inflation ignited. But Biden doesn't know that. He's not capable of understanding that. And that's the danger of his administration. A, they're incompetent ideologues, and B, the leader doesn't understand what the deuce is happening.
I think there's some truth to him not understanding what's happening, but the party, I actually honestly think that they're okay with the way things are right now. They really believe that this is the way the country should work. People should stay home. They should be watching Netflix. They shouldn't want to travel. They shouldn't aspire for things greater than just renting a home, staying inside. They don't really want any of that.
Look, it all centers around global warming, which is a fanatical movement. And that's why Biden went after the fossil fuel industry in the name of global warming. So they don't want people to pollute the planet. This is the hardcore progressive left. And then they want big government controls. All right, they want the government to control the economy. This is socialism. All right, tell you what to do, what not to do. If you want to know what socialism looked like, go on out to California. Okay, they have 1,000 regulations on what bag you can buy, what this you can buy, what that you can buy, taxes up to here. And you do what we say in Sacramento. You don't like it? Go to Arizona and Nevada, and millions of people are. They're bailing out of California. But if you want to know what it is, California is the model.
One of my favorite topics, just talking about Biden a little bit more, it's the opposite of what the national media obsesses over, right? So they want to know, is Trump going to run again? That's the question that the national media cares about. I want to know, and something that it really is one of my favorite topics, is what are Democrats going to do in 2024? We're talking about President Biden saying that he's probably going to run again, privately saying that there are reports of that. The party knows that he cannot run again. Okay, and then so who's supposed to be next? Supposed to be next is Kamala Harris. That would be the logical transition. They know she can't run. So what do you assess of what Democrats, the position they're in come 2024, and what you think they might do?
Well, they desperately want Michelle Obama to run. She's got a new book out coming in November, and she's going to do a tour with all these movie stars and famous people with her. And that's what the Democratic Party wants. They want her to run because they don't have anybody else. Now, Newsom, the governor of California, he's raising money, circling like a turkey buzzard over the White House. Certainly he'll make a go if Michelle Obama doesn't or doesn't want to run. So it's right now, the Democrats have only two, Michelle and Newsom.
But so how does Biden bow out? How do they convince Kamala Harris to bow out? How do they do that?
They don't have to convince anybody, Eddie. The party comes. Biden already knows he's not going to run again. The last interview he gave, I think it was on CNN, he could see him. He knows he's done. And Jill will just walk in and tell him. That's how he'll get the message. She said, look, honey, you're 82 years old. You can't run for president. And Joe will go, okay, let's go to Delaware. Kamala Harris, I think, probably knows what a terrible job she's doing. She's in over her head. She's incompetent. She can't handle it. They'll just go around her. She doesn't have a constituency. She doesn't have a power base. So somebody will call her up and say, you know, thanks, Kamala, but we're going with Michelle or we're going with Newsom or whoever else the party will get behind.
Yeah, that's going to be fascinating. I think that it really hasn't sunk in for the public at large how big of a mess the Democratic Party is going to be in come 2024. So let's talk a little bit about media. Obviously, you were giant on cable news, giant. New CNN executive Chris, I believe it's Chris Licht or Chris Licht, one of the two. He's coming in. He's making some changes that are portrayed in the media as if they're major changes. I think they're pretty marginal. I think that the network is actually unsalvageable without massive firings. But what do you make of the state of CNN right now and their new leadership and how they're trying to position themselves?
And I got to tell you, I don't care. It's all over for all of the news agencies, network and cable. It's done. It's like the film industry in the USA. It's finished. People don't want it anymore. Younger people, average age of cable TV watchers now, 76, 77 years old. Nobody under 50 is even bothering with them. So look, CNN, big company, Time Warner, they got to make money. They are still making money. They'll move the chess pieces around a little bit, won't matter. Fox wins because they have a conservative audience that there's nowhere else to go, so they coalesce around Fox. Fox is better talent, more well organized. They'll continue to be a player, but the numbers are coming down everywhere, and that will continue. I did, and you should watch this, Ed. You might get a column out of it. I did Chris Cuomo's show on News Nation last night.
I watched it.
Oh, you did? I'm glad you saw it. So I wanted to do it, number one, because I don't believe in the cancel culture, and they obviously were trying to cancel Cuomo. But number two, I wanted to give the viewers who hadn't seen me in a while a contrast, okay, to see here's Chris and here's O'Reilly. And then you can see what it used to be. It was like an old-timers game. And it used to be a lot more than it is now.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. I think you're right. I think that something that is lost on all of the cable channels is the adversarial back and forth that I think that really helped a lot of people digest the issues of the day.
It's called robust debate, but in the age of woke, they're terrified to do it. They're terrified.
All right, let's get to your book. Again, the title is Killing the Legends, The Lethal Danger of Celebrity. And I got to tell you, I'm very upset you sent me this book because you didn't sign it.
See, that my publisher sent it, and I'm not there, but you'll get a signed copy. And I know why you want one, Ed. You want to put it on eBay. You get some big bucks for a signed.
No, I save them all. I got
on eBay.
No, you sent me the one you did with the interviews with Trump. You sent me a signed one of that, and I still have it. And I thought, what gives? Like I've been downgraded. I didn't get a signed copy.
No. You'll get one. I promise.
All right. So the book really is about fame, and obviously we're looking at three cultural giants. We're looking at Elvis, John Lennon, Muhammad Ali. Why did you pick those three to profile and kind of and talk about what fame does to people to this day, but especially back then?
Okay, so Killing the Legends is the 12th Killing book, the first on cultural history. All the others were presidents or wars or whatever, but this is cultural history. So these three guys, and very few people understand this, they changed the way we live now in America, almost single-handedly. So Elvis, in the middle of the 50s, conformist society, post-World War II, everybody looked the same, everybody talked the same, no dissent in the country. He goes on, Ed Sullivan sings a dopey song, Hound Dog, and the whole American culture crashes. The next day, the preachers are screaming, Elvis is the devil, he's an agent of Satan. Parents are yelling at their young boys, you're not going to slick your hair back, you're not going to wear the leather jacket. Who wins? Elvis wins. Rock and roll rebellion, boom, sweeps into the United States. Changes everything. 64, Beatles come over from Britain. In the next 5 years, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the Beatles are the spear point of that. We still have that culture today. Meantime, Ali refuses to be inducted in the armed forces, gets sentenced to prison, big Supreme Court, biggest dissent case ever, and he's involved with the civil rights movement. So all three of these guys changed America. But what they all have in common is they all were crushed by their celebrity. They were destroyed by it. And they were betrayed by those closest to them.
Right, you do say betrayed by those closest to them, which I gather that did happen. However, what I really appreciated about your book, a theme that kind of runs through the three of them, and you wrap it up at the end with the same thing, was and it's not just these three. You see this with people like Michael Jackson, Heath Ledger, Brittany Murphy, Amy Winehouse, where they really seem to lose control of their own life. They lost control of their own life, and they gave it up to others, or they gave it up to drugs or alcohol, and that ultimately is what ends them.
That's true. Presley couldn't handle it. So Tom Parker, he took it all over, stole Presley blind. All right? Elvis marries a teenager. She can't help him. The father's ill-educated. He can't help him. Gives it to Parker. Parker steals him blind and pretty much ruins his career. If when you read the book, you'll see the opportunities that Elvis had that Parker sabotaged. Lennon gets involved with Yoko Ono, the gregarious leader of the Beatles, although I think McCartney was a better creator, who was one time, a very charismatic guy, disappears, becomes a recluse, and gets addicted to heroin. What's that all about? And that's what broke up the Beatles, okay? And then Ali, same thing. So much pressure on him. He goes to the Nation of Islam, tell me what to do. The black Muslims they're overjoyed to tell him what to do. And what they tell him is, you go in the ring every 3 months and get the tar beat out of you, and because we're going to make a lot of money, and that destroyed Ali's brain.
What is it about fame as a concept and what it does to people, or rather what they let happen to them? What is it about fame as a concept? Because something I thought about while reading this book, obviously I'm a little bit younger, just a little bit younger, was actually the artist Lady Gaga. I'm sure you're familiar at least a little bit. Lady Gaga, she has been always very open about the fact that she pursued fame. That is something she wanted. Even one of her albums was called Fame Monster. She talked about being famous, like how to be famous, and like it was a craft for her. But she seems to be doing okay. But there are many people that this has happened to, that fame it's something that happened to them and they suffered for it. What is it about fame?
Well, McCartney got away with it, but we never really know what the private demons are. You don't know about Lady Gaga, how she's living day to day. McCartney looks like he survived it, but being famous is unnatural. It is not a natural human condition, because once you're famous, then emotional pressure comes on you every day, every moment. People want stuff from you. They expect something. You leave the house in America today, you're famous, there is a camera on you every second. Somebody is photographing you, following you, whatever it may be. It drives people insane. And there are various structures. Now, Lennon, Presley, and Ali were not well-educated men, but they weren't stupid men. They knew what was happening to them, and they allowed it to happen. A stronger personality might not allow it to happen. So that's the difference internally. But believe me when I tell you, because I'm famous, I know what this is, not to their extent, but wherever I go in the country, in the world, people know who I am. And I got to be ultra careful, and I have to plan every move I make, all right? And it is a burden. And I don't drink, and I don't take narcotics, and I had two parents who instilled Judeo-Christian values into me, so I had a big advantage, okay? And still, it was so hard, is so hard to deal with it.
Sure. All right. Well, the book is Killing the Legends, The Lethal Danger of Celebrity. I'm going to leave you with one tip of the day, Bill.
Yes,
give the
sir.
airline workers, give them a break. The airline workers, give them a break.
Look, Ed, someday we'll talk about that. It wasn't the workers that I had a problem with. It was the manager who was lying to the folks. And you know what happens when you lie to the folks that I'm around, i.e. Barney Frank. So that's my job. No lying to the folks.
All right, Bill. Well, take care, and thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Ed.